welcome to the Ultimate Love Life Makeover, Dating Mastery for Women. I'm Cami Elen, your host, and I'm so happy that you're here with us. So each day during this virtual summit, you will learn tips and tools from our world-class experts on all things related to dating and attraction. This wisdom will help you date and relate with unshakable confidence and become a woman who can inspire a great love. We are standing for you to create nothing less than lasting, luscious love, your ultimate love life makeover. I am pleased to introduce my next guest expert, Dr. Ken Page, who will be talking today on the topic, the most powerful path to transformation in your search for love. In my work over the last several years, I have had the pleasure of becoming acquainted with some truly phenomenal love and relationship experts. Dr. Ken Page is one of them, and I can say that you are in for a very special treat because when he speaks, he not only shares valuable content that's really essential to know for anyone who's committed to creating love, but he speaks and shares with such authenticity and deep care and tenderness that's so palpable. So you are going to leave today's session truly uplifted and inspired. So I'm excited to bring him on. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about Ken. So Ken Page, LCSW, is a renowned psychotherapist, popular Psychology Today blogger, Huffington Post blogger, and author of the bestseller, Deeper Dating: How to Drop the Games of Seduction and Discover the Power of Intimacy. He's been featured in O, the Oprah Magazine, the New York Times, Cosmopolitan, Fox News, WPIX TV News, Match.com, Christian Mingle, J-Date, and more. He has led hundreds of workshops on intimacy and spirituality for thousands of participants. His work has been highly acclaimed by numerous top thought leaders, including Harville Hendricks, Helen LaKelly Hunt, Arielle Ford, Edward Hallowell, MD, Chip Conley, Judith Orloff, MD, and Catherine Woodward Thomas. So welcome, Ken. I'm so happy to have you with us today.
Cami, I'm honored and delighted to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And I'm really excited to share your work with the listeners and the audience. So can you start by telling us about core gifts and what they are?
Yes, I'd love to. But I think that I want to, in introducing the concept of core gifts, I think I want to talk about something that I think is so important for every woman who is single, and if there are any men out there listening to as well, to you, and that is the concept of your clay feet in your dating life and in your relationship life. Because I think that so many of us, when we think about finding love, we instantly think that there's like a picture of kind of how together we have to be, how confident we have to be, and we kind of like almost inadvertently like pull in our stomach and try to picture this us that's just a little bit more whatever, more confident, more funny, more humorous, thinner, better glutes, whatever it is, better dressed, whatever it is. And in fact, there's an exercise in futility that goes with that. Now, everyone, it's great to look good. It's great to laugh. It's great to show who you really are in your best light. It's great to feel confident. But we are human. And the bottom line that every one of you should know, every one of us should know, is that right now, with everything you have, the clay feet you have and the beauty you have, the weight you have, the clothes you have, who you are right now, the kind of person who is made for you is going to love you right now the way you are. And I think that that the job is to get rid of our clay feet, whatever those are. And it's just not so. Not only is it not so, but when we try to do that, we turn ourselves, we like twist ourselves into a pretzel. And when we do that, we're not as much fun. We're not as silly. We're not as ridiculous.
Mhm.
We're not as loving. We're not as playful. We're not as human. And it is those very qualities that are going to make the right person fall in love with you, not those extra tweaks to make yourself more confident, more fabulous, to have less clay feet, whatever. It's not those things. It's what you've got already that are the greatest attractors to a man or woman who's right for you. So I want to start out by pointing that out because I think that's something that we forget, and it can make your life easier to remember that it's you right now who has the gifts that are going to help you find love. And when you forget that, you won't be you. And when you're not you, I promise you, you will not be as beautiful. And when you are you, I promise you, you will be beautiful to someone who's looking for someone like you. So that's kind of where I want to start because I think it's so important. And from there, I want to talk about your core gifts. Because what's amazing is that the qualities that really are our most beautiful qualities, usually we don't know them, we don't honor them, we don't treasure them enough, we don't get them enough. We really think it's all these other things. But it's not so much those other things. It's the things that you have had for so many years that make up who you are. And these qualities are what I call core gifts. So core gifts are the parts of ourselves that they're kind of, they're the places we're most alive. They're the places where life can touch us the most deeply, move us the most powerfully, and also hurt us the most intensely. They're the places where you are you. They're the places where you most feel the beating heart of your humanity. And I'm telling you, the bottom line is that they are the key to finding the kind of love that can last. So in my book, Deeper Dating, much of the focus is in how to identify these core gifts, how to know what they are. And we're going to have some fun with that today because I'm going to help
Wonderful.
each one of you think of what your, do a little bit of learning about what your deepest core gifts are. So interestingly, our core gifts are often found in the places where we feel the most insecure. In fact,
Oh.
like if you think of the parts of yourself that you feel kind of most timid about revealing in your dating life, and I don't mean like parts of your life story that you feel embarrassed by, I mean aspects of your personality that maybe you feel the most tender about revealing. Take a minute right now without even thinking. What might some of those parts of you be? The parts that you just feel tender about showing. Cami, can I put you on the spot?
Sure.
Would you be willing to share what some of those parts, maybe
So
one or
places,
two?
so the places where I'm the most, where I feel the most vulnerability around, or I would say, well, I'm a very um, sensitive, emotional person, so I can cry at the drop of a hat. So
Yes,
there's that. Is that what you
beautiful.
mean? Something like
That's
that?
absolutely a perfect example. And would you say that kind of, earlier on your training, about how to meet someone gave you the feeling that you should kind of like airbrush those parts of yourself or hide them or cover them up until you knew somebody was in love with you?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
can't show someone your emotional side, or have to have to be strong, or can't really, you have to be, you can't be someone who's too emotional. It's the stereotypical thing that women are too emotional.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. And would you say that that is one of your truest attributes? Like it's really who you are. Maybe you've wanted to change it or get rid of it or fix it, but but it's really you.
Absolutely, because what I've learned is that if I feel emotion, it's because I'm deeply connected to myself, and
Yes.
something is moving me in such a way that it is bringing, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm sad. It might be something like a beautiful piece of music, a symphony has moved me to such a level that I feel the emotion, or that, I'm grateful for a depth of connection with a friend or a partner, or that I something has just touched me. It's that level of allowing myself to be touched and moved on such a level that emotion will come. So I've learned that that's actually a strength.
Yes, exactly. And that is so true. And there is a deeper physics to this whole process of finding love. And that deeper physics relates very much to the journey you just described and that we're talking about. And here it is. It's like a formula. And in my work with so many people who are single and looking for relationships, I've seen this, and in my own life, I've seen this again and again. Here's how it goes. Those qualities which are your core gift places, the places where you can be the most inspired and the most hurt, the parts of you that feel particularly sensitive, tender, alive, vulnerable, intense,
Mm.
that you might think you need to cover up. Here's the amazing, amazing deal. The degree to which you're ambivalent about those qualities, because I imagine that to some degree, every one of you loves those qualities in yourself. But on another level, you think, well, maybe it's too much. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe that stuff is too tender and vulnerable and soft. Maybe I'm not enough. Um, to the degree that you feel ambivalent about the genius of those qualities in you, because they are your genius, to the degree that you feel ambivalent, you are going to end up being attracted to and finding people who are also ambivalent about those parts in you.
That's
Again
interesting.
and again and again this happens, and it's the closest thing to magic that I've seen as a psychotherapist who's kind of pretty serious about the clinical aspects of my work. It's kind of the closest thing I've seen to magic. Is how that happens.
So
And
you're saying, when if someone is um, wanting to turn away from those qualities in themselves, that they are going to tend to attract a partner who also would do the same. Is that what you're saying?
who will ultimately denigrate them for those qualities, who will ultimately
Mm.
not understand those qualities, who will walk on them, who will
Mm.
neglect them, ignore them, not treasure them. And the bottom line is that we need to do more than accept those parts of ourselves. We need to cherish them. We need to treasure them.
Mm.
And this is where the opposite dynamic happens. And I've seen it occur again and again. And I say this to everyone who's watching now. The degree to which you make a decision that you are going to treasure these parts of yourself, not just accept them, but treasure them. And the degree to which you make a decision that goes like this: I am not going to date anybody. I am not going to be in a relationship with anybody. I'm not going to pursue intimate love with anybody with whom those parts of me don't feel treasured and safe in the most essential way.
Mm.
Nobody. Nobody, no more. That's it. When you make that decision, and when you say, I'm going to cherish those parts of myself, your entire dating journey will transform. And that's a promise. And some amazing things that will happen with that are your sexual and romantic attractions are going to begin to change. You are little by little going to become less turned on by those people who chip away at your sense of self-worth. You really will. It's an amazing thing. And another thing is, you'll start noticing them less. You'll be less interested in them. That thing where you want to convince them is going to gradually go away. And then there's this other piece that feels the closest to magic, and that is that somehow you're going to find somehow you're meeting these people. And there's actually fascinating, solid clinical research in the field of the study of attraction, the science of attraction, um, that shows that to be true. It's called the law of the principle of instrumentality,
Mm.
which is, it's fascinating stuff. It's that if you set a goal that really is important to you, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself more attracted to people who meet that goal. You're going to find yourself noticing people who meet that goal. And in my experience, you'll find yourself meeting people who meet that goal. So when you make that choice, that these core gifts, the places where you are the most tender, passionate, and sensitive, I'm telling you, you only want a partner who treasures them and makes them feel safe pretty much from the get-go. Nobody else. And when you make that decision, your world will change.
What a powerful shift this
What a
is.
powerful shift, yes. And one that I've experienced in my own life. I grew up the child of Holocaust survivors. As a gay boy in the 60s, not so easy. And some of my core gifts were qualities of a deep sensitivity. Beautiful things would touch me deeply. Interactions that were honest and beautiful and open would touch me deeply. Interactions that were hurtful would hurt me deeply. And my sensitivity was so great. My parents actually sent me to a doctor to see if I had some kind of damage to my tear ducts because I
Oh,
cried so easily. And the
sound
doctor
like
said,
me.
no, no, no. I know. You know, that's how much I didn't fit in as a boy in this world at that time. So of course, and the doctor was wonderful. He said, nope, he's just soft-hearted. And they actually did that. They brought me to the doctor.
Wow.
So for years in my search for a relationship, I tried to squelch my intensity of sensitivity. And what that meant was that I was turned on by the guys who lacked that quality and didn't understand me again and again. And they were the ones who were my objects of affection. And
Hmm.
as I began this journey, and I want to say to each one of you, this can be and should be one of, if not the greatest spiritual journeys of your entire life. The journey to say, in the face of all this dating crap, I'm going to lead with my soul. I'm going to do that. And I'm only going to choose people who honor what they see when I do that. It's so brave to do that, and it changes everything. So, as I learned that, as I began to learn and understand that, little by little, and I just remember because I had never been able to date anyone for more than 6 weeks. By like my late 20s, 6 weeks was still my limit. And God knows I was trying. I wasn't trying effectively, but I was trying. What I found when I reached my later 20s and I began therapy was that those parts of me were my treasures. And it changed and rocked my world. And all of a sudden, bit by bit, love started coming to me. It wasn't the right love, it wasn't perfect love, but it was closer and closer. And what I discovered is that the parts of me that I had most tried to push away or airbrush and fix up, my core gifts, were actually the key to a happy life. And my life now is filled with love. I have a wonderful husband and wonderful children and a wonderful family and a rich life. And all of that came from the journey of saying that the parts of me that I thought were too different were my genius.
Thank you for sharing your own story and your
Mm.
own work around this.
Thank you, thank you.
So
It's a
I,
hero's journey for
mm,
everyone who's dating. This is your hero's journey. And I do want to say one other thing too, which
please.
you cannot try to be more confident and try to be more authentic at the same time. Everyone says be authentically confident. Well, what is authentically confident? That's like when you're feeling confident, you're confident. But at other times you won't be. And if you cannot say, I don't feel confident now. I feel tender. I feel vulnerable. I feel insecure. If you can't say that and then follow that up with the words, I love myself and it's okay. How can I be honest and real and take care of myself now? then if you try to then say, I can't be that, that's not a turn on. I have to act confident. I guarantee you, you will temporarily lose touch with your soul. And when you do that, your dating choices are not going to be as good.
Wow. So it sounds like it's like this deep sense, this deep self-acceptance and honoring.
Yes.
And in doing so, the potential partners or the partners that we're dating will mirror that, or will deflect the ones who don't.
Absolutely. You will waste so much less time, and somehow, and in my courses and in my work, I have seen this again and again. When I teach courses, the first stage of the course is always how to identify your core gifts. And as people do that, they start coming in and saying, I am dating kinder, more available people. I don't understand this, but it's happening. And that's the deeper physics of love.
Mm. Well,
Part of it.
for anyone listening, so how can they discover their core gifts? What are some tips around that?
So thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to give you a process which you can take home with you and try. And here's what it is. Well, I will say that, in the book Deeper Dating, I teach a very staged, step-by-step process that helps everybody in very rich ways be able to articulate their core gifts. But a shorter form is this, that you just ask yourself a few questions. The first question is the one that I asked you. What are the parts of yourself that in your dating life you feel tender about revealing? And whatever you note, what I would say to you is look at that with a different lens. Look at that attribute with a different lens. Think, how might this be a core gift? Because the parts of ourselves we are the most tender about showing reflect our core gifts. They may not be perfect, but they're us. So that's the first question. What are the aspects of your personality that you're like kind of timid to show and reveal? And now I'm going to tell you another formula. To the degree that you press those down, to that degree, you will end up in masochistic situations.
Oh.
Because violence begets violence. And the act of suppressing your natural, authentic self is not just an act of suppression, it's an act of quiet violence against your soul.
Wow.
So powerful stuff. The universe works in very concrete ways around this stuff. When we don't accept ourselves, we hurt ourselves, and we get attracted to people in situations that are going to hurt us too. So that's the first one. Consider in your dating life, whatever those attributes are, leading with them, treasuring them, and saying, I'm not so interested in anybody who doesn't really value those from the get-go. Now here's another, so that's one question. What are the parts of ourselves we're timid to reveal? We're like kind of shy about revealing. The parts of ourselves that we kind of favor and protect. Second question is this, and this is an exercise that I want to encourage all of you to think about right now and then do for a period of 2 days. You get a journal or you get your phone, and for a period of 2 days, you notice what kind of interactions with the world inspire you and touch your heart, kind of fill your heart. And every time you notice that, you write down what it is. And what it is about that situation that inspires you. You may be walking through a park and there's a beautiful tree and you feel a feeling of maybe peace and tranquility or awe. Instead of just moving on with your day, you do something different. You hold that joy for a moment long. You let it longer. You let it suffuse you. You let it sit inside you. You let it ripple through you. And after you do that, you'll feel deepened by this tiny experience. And then you think, what's the attribute here that touched me? And then you will know something about your core gifts. It might be a deep love for nature. So that every time You have a moment, or you see an interaction. You maybe are like at a food store, and you see the cashier take a little extra moment to help an elderly person get her food just right in the back, and your heart fills. What is that about you? What is that quality? It's a quality of compassion. It's a quality of wanting to give. And what I would say to you is that not only can you feel inspiration there, but my guess is that when the opposite happens, that bad things happen in that direction, or insensitivity, that those things hurt you really badly. And that's the other part of the exercise. In those 2 days, notice the things that hurt your heart. And notice first, you might have a tendency to say, I'm just being too sensitive. I have to be less sensitive. Well, I'm going to ask you not to do that. I'm going to ask you to think, what if this is my intimacy genius? What if this is a core gift? What's the quality? What's the issue here? The reason I'm being hurt? It means there's something I care about deeply. What is that? And ask yourself that question. And in 2 days of validating and honoring your joys and your hurts, you start thinking, what are the key themes here? And it's like a connect the dots picture. You connect all the dots and a picture forms. And that picture is going to be your soul qualities, the qualities that are going to make your life into the life that you want it to be. Those are your core gifts.
Mm. Well, it's 2 days. I mean, it's really worth taking the time to
2 days.
that, to
You
get
just go through your regular day.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you just go through your regular day and you just make notes. And what you'll find is, oh yeah, those are the parts of me I've known all along. But now I'm just dignifying them just a little bit more.
Mm. And then what's the next piece? So what happens once someone starts to name and cherish what these gifts are?
Ah, well, when you start doing that, a few things will happen. You will have infinitely less tolerance for people that dishonor those qualities. And that's a really good thing, because you deserve to be extravagantly choosy in your search for love around the things that really matter most. That's one thing that's going to happen. Another thing that's going to happen, as I mentioned, is you will find yourself meeting kinder and more available people. Online, offline, anywhere. You make that shift and watch what happens. But here's another thing, is that your profile online, if you're online dating, should reflect that. Don't just choose pictures that make you look really pretty. Choose pictures that show your soul, like the kind of pictures that the people who love you the most say, that's you, that's really you. The pictures where your heart shows, where your soul shows, put those pictures up prominently, because they'll be like a beaming lighthouse to the people who are looking for people who have those qualities. And in your profile, note who you really are. Note those qualities. You don't have to list them, but somehow reflect them. Just somehow don't be afraid to reveal them. And as you do this, your search for love will continue without you changing your hair, without you losing a pound, without you acting one drop more confident, more feminine, or anything.
Mm. Sounds very magnetic.
It's magnetic in the most authentic sense. Yes.
Mm. And as people start to show up this way for themselves, really getting in touch on a soul level with their core gifts, and they're starting to put themselves out there and attracting different types of people, I can imagine that this is a different experience, and that there might be some fears that come up, like the fear of intimacy, because this is so new. And how do you recommend that women handle this if they start to feel like, oh, I'm feeling really afraid of the intimacy that might be possible here?
I love that question, and thank you. Because when you make your journey, your dating life, into an actual intimacy journey, you reach a point that you become afraid. And in my work with clients who are looking for love, when they reach the point that they come in and they're starting to feel afraid, I say to them, it's time to celebrate. We have waited for this because we're afraid because this person's available.
Oh
We're
my
afraid
gosh, I
that
love
this could
that.
be real.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's time to
yeah.
celebrate.
It's time to celebrate. It's time to celebrate. And it's time to unfold a few tactics that are going to help you get through that fear. And I want to share what those are.
Please.
Because I know for myself, for years, no, for decades, I thought I was incapable of love. Because I mean, I'm a very warm and open person and a loving person. Even, at my most repressed, I was still, those qualities showed and people were drawn to me. But for decades, everyone who was drawn to me, I would become bored,
Oh.
disinterested, maybe even repulsed. I would want to go back to the thrill of the chase with someone new. And
Mhm.
then I would think, oh my God, I am so shallow or so disjointed or dysfunctional, but I can't stay here because if I stay here with this nice person who really likes me, I'm going to really hurt them because I'm going to have to flee ultimately. So why don't I just flee now and make it easier on all of us? And that's what I did for decades. And I discovered as I began to do the work that it wasn't just me, that many people have this issue. And what I call it the wave,
Mm.
or the wave of distancing. And I would say that it is the greatest saboteur of healthy love that exists on the planet. The greatest internal saboteur.
The wave. Okay,
The
tell
wave.
us about this. What is this? How does this work?
Okay, so here's the wave. You meet someone, you like this person, you're interested, you're somewhat attracted, or you think you might become attracted. You continue to see them, and then at a certain point, you don't really feel like you need to earn them or chase them. They're just there and they like you and they want more. And then all of a sudden, like it's like water in a sieve. Your attraction just goes away. All of a sudden, you notice yourself losing interest.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's kind, decent, and available, you find yourself wanting to pull away. Also, you're afraid. You might think, like, I don't want to settle down with, what if this isn't good enough? What if there's better? You have all these different thoughts.
Yes.
That's the wave. That's the wave. And I'll give you an image that captures what that is. If you're ever in the woods and you see a mother bird on a nest with her baby birds, and you get too close, the mother bird is going to freak out. She's going to either attack you or she'll fling herself to the ground and play dead to protect her babies. When our heart knows that we're close to maybe really finding love, it gets terrified because it's the biggest fear of all. And it does all of these things to make us get away as quickly as we can. So this is my guess from informal research at countless events that I've led, between 50 to 75% of people have this issue, the wave. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're one of those 50 to 75% of people who have it, I want to tell you what to do when it strikes. And
Yes,
after you
please.
celebrate, yes, after you celebrate and you identify it for what it is, what you do is you don't run. That's number one. You do not flee. No matter how much you want to flee, you don't flee. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is you don't demand of yourself. You don't demand of yourself to have sex just because it's been 3 months of dating. You don't demand of yourself to meet this person's parents. You don't demand of yourself 3 dates a week because the other person wants it. You give yourself space. You give yourself space to breathe, and you hope, and you tell them, I'm interested. I just need to go slowly. I just need to go slowly. And there's a marker where you see how they respond. My poor husband, I tortured him with this endlessly. We went so slowly, but he was the kind of person who accepted it, and that was kind of a filter.
Mm.
Um, you don't have any sexual encounter that you're not ready for,
Mm-hmm.
but you let yourself enjoy the qualities of this person that you enjoy. If you're not ready to go for a long romantic dinner at this moment, go to the movies and take a walk. That's okay. Give yourself breathing room. With the influx of a little bit of space and oxygen, you will find that your feelings come back. This from someone who thought once they went away, they would never come back. It's not true.
Ooh, that's really interesting what you just said.
Yeah.
Because I'll talk to women sometimes, and I hear more often than not this idea of, well, I need to have chemistry. I need to have this big chemistry. And they're judging pretty soon whether or not they feel that way with somebody. And I also hear the idea of, oh, I don't know, it's just he's boring, or there's just not enough excitement. And so what you're saying is, and what I'm also, I think people might be thinking as they're listening is, you're saying to hang in there and to give yourself the space to be with your feelings and to just appreciate the person. Don't rush into anything, especially the oxytocin bonding with this sexuality. But what I've had women ask me, and I'll ask you, is when do they know whether this just is not a compatible person and maybe it just is not a fit, or that what's happening is their own fear of intimacy, and how do they determine whether to give it another chance or whether to decide, no, this just isn't the right person?
Yes, very good question. And there's so much in what you just said. Um, what I would say in answer to that is that you will know in time, because either this person will become more beautiful to you or not. And what you want to look for, I guess I'm going to say this first. And I want to say this, pretty unequivocally. You are not obligated to be with someone you're not attracted to just because that person seems like they're good for you. You are not. It won't work. It won't work. You have a right to be someone you're physically attracted to. That said, couples theory shows that the kind of people who you're wildly and insanely attracted to from early on are usually so because they embody the worst characteristics of your primary caregivers, usually your parents, and
Mm-hmm.
your psyche wants to go back to the scene of the crime and get it repaired. But you're trying to do it with someone who's going to hurt you probably in the same way. So those wild attractions, they're not what you should be judging things against. If you have a slow building attraction, that's great. The main thing is a sense of safety. If you're with someone and you're wildly attracted to them and there's not an essential sense of safety, get the hell out, because it's not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but getting back to that piece of when do you know? When do you really know? What I would say is, if you try these techniques, you don't flee, you allow yourself to have dates that are fun. Let's say you're with this person and you want to, you're having dinner together and you just want to, like, you don't want to sleep with him, but at the moment, you just want to put your hand on his hand while, during dinner because of something he just said or something you're trying to say. Do that. Put your hand on him. Let yourself feel that connection. Ride with those connections when they happen. If you want to allow yourself to sexually fantasize about this person, to think about qualities of this person that you're attracted to, let yourself do that so that those things can kind of flower. But give yourself space. And if after a period of having fun, nice dates and giving yourself space, but going with the eros when it's there, if you find after a period of time that the eros is coming and going, then you want to stick with it. Because the fact that it's coming and going means that there really is something there, and it could be fear, or even if not fear, something is building. If consistently you're doing this and there's no eros, give yourself a break. Let this person become a friend. You are not obligated to keep trying.
That's a really great distinction.
Yeah,
That's so clear. I think that's
good,
that's really
good.
helpful for everybody listening.
Yeah, this is a soul journey. And if you want a soulmate, you lead with your soul. And when you practice leading with your soul and taking all of the advice about how to fix yourself and improve yourself, and only focus on leading with your soul, that's how you find happiness. Take all the other advice that's on your desk, put your elbow on the desk, put your hand on the desk, and just push to the
Clear
side
it off.
until it all falls to the ground. Then you have a clean slate, and you just start with who you are.
Oh, I can feel everyone breathing a sigh of relief when you say
And
that.
it's the truth. And it's the truth. And the stories that I've experienced in researching for my book, like people paralyzed from the neck down finding love, people 90 years old finding love because they finally led with their soul.
Mm. Oh, wow. What this has been a soul nourishing conversation.
I'm so
And
glad.
yes, and I'm just watching the time and I want to make sure we're respectful of yours. So I know that you have something to share about the most powerful change that we can make right now. We want to wrap with maybe with that. What's the most powerful change?
The powerful change that you can make right now, the most powerful change, truly, truly, the most powerful change has two parts to it. The first part is to say, I'm going to lead with my real self. I'm going to put that first, second, third, and fourth in my list of dating tips. That's the
Mm,
first one. The second one is um, I am done dating what I call attractions of deprivation, where you're turned on because you keep trying to get the person to love you right. And I am only going to pursue attractions of inspiration. Those are relationships where you're consistently attracted, not all the time, but in an essential way, to a person's goodness, availability, decency, and generosity of spirit. When you make the choice that that's what you're going to look for, and of course someone where there's mutual attraction, when you make that choice, you literally will turn your future around. I It's the saddest thing in the world to me that we haven't been told this from early childhood on, because it's the greatest lesson there is, and it leads to a future of happiness.
can you say those qualities again?
Yes.
Goodness.
Goodness, integrity, availability, decency.
Mhm.
In a consistent way, not those qualities like overdone with love bombs, alternating with unavailability conus. They need to have like a kind of like consistency.
Consistency. Yeah.
Those are the qualities that you're looking for. Those are the qualities of inspiration. That's where your happiness is going to lie.
Dating from inspiration versus deprivation.
That's right. It's the way.
Mm. Well, Ken, I know that you have so much more to share, and you have a free gift that you're offering today.
Yes,
Can
I
you
do.
please
Yes, I
share
do.
what that is?
This free gift is an ebook that captures many of the insights that I've talked about today. It's called Four Insights to Transform Your Search for Love. I blog for Psychology Today, and each one of these insights has gone really viral on Psychology Today, really kind of hit a nerve with large, large numbers of people, and hit a nerve with me because they're things I really believe in. So it's a free ebook, Four Insights to Transform Your Search for Love.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for this soul nourishing conversation that's really supporting everyone with some really simple shifts to start doing that in their dating life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cami. I'm always so glad to get a chance to work with you.
And thank you to all of you who have been listening or watching this talk today with Ken. We really appreciate having you with us for this Ultimate Love Life Makeover Summit. And I want to remind you, after you take advantage of Ken's free gift, make sure you check out all the details about how you can listen back to today's talk whenever you wish, as well as all of the speakers and all of their content. All of those details about the VIP package are below on the page. And you can also go to ultimatelovelifemakeover.com/VIP to learn more. We appreciate you so much for being here, and we look forward to having you back again for more of the Ultimate Love Life Makeover. Take care. Much love. Bye-bye.